Flyboy FRE $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's TheFlyBoy. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. And welcome back to another episode of Jeep Talk. Whew, it's getting cold out here, man. It's getting cold out here. Say hello, Xavier. We are on the way for our normal school morning ride. Oh, it's cold out here. Give me a second, y'all. And this is Jeep Talk episode 63. Do you know what season you're in? No, I know this is not. I'm not talking about football. I'm not talking about basketball. I'm not talking about the MLB. I'm not talking about hockey. I'm not talking about winter. I'm not talking about fall. I'm not talking about summer. And I'm not talking about spring. When I ask, do you know what season you're in? What I'm talking about is a season of your life which represents what you are trying to accomplish at the current time. For example, maximizing and promoting and hustling with the YouTube. And I still, like I said, I'm going to do YouTube forever. But I'm in the season now where I'm solidifying my retirement. And I'm pretty much 40. I was pretty much starting that season. 40. That I figured this was gonna be the last year that I really was in the season of grinding, and I ended it with all the stuff I've done on this year on YouTube, as far as going to at least 6 or 7 different states, doing YouTube events, meeting creators from all over the United States. Also figuring out how I wanted to retire, as far as what properties I wanted to own. Did I want to still doing more investment? This was all what the season I hit when I was 40. I said, you know what? I'm 40 years old last year. I'm going to make my 44th year like the last hurrah before I get into the next season. What's going on, Chavo P.O.? What's going on, James? What up? Salute. A lot of people don't know what season they're in, or they don't know what season it is for them, and that's not a good thing. And the reason why I say it's not a good thing is, if I personally didn't start my planning and retirement season, I may still be in a season where I want to go out every night to go do something to promote myself, or to I got shout out to one of the guys I met, Frenchie. Frenchie is a new creator, but he's got connections with the industry, like a lot of connections with the industry. And Frenchie has been inviting me to different events with Jim Jones and Fabulous and Mano and stuff like that. And normally that, when I was in that season of grinding, I would be going to all these events to promote, and meet with the people that some people follow, like celebrities and stuff. It's not my thing, but I still would do it because it opens your network. But right now, the season I'm in is preparing for my retirement. And what does my retirement look like? But unfortunately, some people, they don't know what season they're in. And then other people watching, they try to compare people who are in different seasons. And that's one thing I think that a lot of people don't know. You can't really, and even on YouTube, you can't compare people who are in different seasons, or they try to arouse some kind of beef or some kind of situation between people who are in completely different seasons. And I see it all the time on YouTube. I'm like, this person might be in a season where they're just okay. We'll be right back. We'll be right back. Come on, ready, X-Men? Let's go. I'll be right back, y'all. Ready, my boy? Shoot. All right, we back. Um, Again, if you're just joining in, we just dropped my little man off at school. This is Jeep Talk episode 63. Do you know what season you're in? Again, just giving people an update that's just joining the room. I am in the season of working towards my retirement, as far as planning and doing operations. And within this season, I'm not. If you crossbreed seasons, you end up messing up. So I'm not going to be on YouTube as heavy as I was this year, by ever again probably. But I will still be uploading Jeep Talks to this channel. But the rest of the lives are going to be on the other channel, the live channel. Also, I won't be editing as much content. I do have a Black Man's Guide I'm going to drop probably in July of next year. And then that's going to be the only major thing I have planned, at least right now. That's the only major thing I have planned for 2026. 2027, we'll talk more about going to Thailand, and we'll figure out when we're going to go. I'm going to try to go when I can link up with Zoom in 2027. And that's because, again, this is my season for securing my retirement. And I feel as though while I can easily secure my retirement, there's a certain level that I like to see if I can get. And with that level is because I know the season I'm in is getting a place in Atlanta as well as getting a place in Colombia. Because I can have space and I can do that. And I know for the next 9 years, I should still be working for the next 9 years. Because that's just, I'm working, but I'm working in the sense of everything I do is going towards retirement. Because I do plan on retiring at 50 years old. I'm 41 right now, so it's a little bit less than 9 years before I retire. But I'm doing all that planning now. But a lot of people don't know their season. And because a lot of people don't know their season or the season that they're in, they're doing stuff that isn't beneficial to what they're trying to accomplish. And I think that knowing your season or the season that you're in currently is important, because if you are a certain age, you don't get another chance to go back and do it again. Like, for example, a lot of people get married at a younger age, right? They get married and get in a serious relationship in their 20s. And that is mostly the season when you're supposed to go out and exploring and learning the world and trying new things, because once you get married, that season is pretty much the season of family. It starts from marriage to the season of family. So you won't have a time to rediscover yourself without being selfish. Or unless you get a divorce, which that could be worse. A lot of stuff can cause from that. Because they didn't know this, and so they got married in their 20s because they didn't know what season they was in. A lot of people, again, are doing YouTube, and they're doing YouTube full time, and they don't have any other source of income. But they're in their 40s, they're in their 30s, their high 30s, late 30s. Between your 30s and your 40s, and so 50s, some people say, is when you're supposed to be making the most maximized income that you can make. The most income, statistically, the most people make their most income between the mid 30s and 50. But in that time, if you're trying to build up a business, it's good when maybe it's okay when you're in your early 30s. When you're in your late 30s, that business should be already applying. If you're gonna quit and be a YouTuber by like 35, you should have a full-time YouTuber. By 35, you should have 100,000 subscribers. You should be making at least $400, $500 a month consistently. That should be at that point if that's what you're gonna do full-time. But you can't be, and even with that, you can't be. I mean, you can be, but it's not wise if you're trying to succeed to be 40 years old trying to do this full time, and you still haven't hit that level where you're making that much money at a clip. Now I know some people will say, oh well, if you think about it, Samuel Jackson, he first made it when he was over 40. Yes, but I'm pretty sure Samuel Jackson had a career before that where he was actually making enough money where he could provide for his family. He can provide for his retirement, so he's not working and all that. And there's always going to, there's also always going to be an extreme. There's always going to be an extreme. People can say, well, Mr. Beast, Corey Kenshin, all these other people, yeah, but that's not the standard. That's not even the majority. I mean, it's not the majority, and it's not even the standard. It's not even the median of the amount of people. You got to know what season you're in, because if you don't know what season you're in, then your strategy could be wrong. Some people are thinking about working a job for the rest of their life, and they're 20 years old. They're 18 to 20, 25 years old. They're thinking about working one job for the rest of their life, settling down without experiencing life first. Because they don't know what season they're in. The one thing I've been able to do is I've been able to track, I feel as though, my opinion, I've been able to track what season I've been in along the way. Let me talk to you guys through. When I was 14, I had a job. When I was 18, I started working at the company I work for now. I knew in this season I needed to hustle and I needed to make some money so that I could create a life that I wanted to live. But I also needed to do the research, and at 18, I knew I needed to do the research to figure out how to maximize this season. I felt, hey, if I get a job that has a steady plan for growth, and I stick with that job, whether it's the post office, whether it's UPS, whether it's FedEx, whether it's being a police officer, whether it's being a correction officer, whether it's something, it has to be something that has significant. This is how I was thinking when I was in a season of 18 years old, just leaving high school, going to college. I say, all right, whatever I do, I don't want to go to college 4 years because that comes with debt, and there's no guarantee that I can get a job, but it's guaranteed that I will have that debt after high school. So let me do a little two-year thing, see if I like it. If I don't like it, at least it was free, or it was a discounted, and I paid for it, the reimbursement through the job I was working at. So I did it. It didn't work out. So I cool. Let me finish the job. I built, but I knew at 20 that I didn't want to be working for the rest of my life at the same career. I knew, because I knew what season I was in, and I knew I had the opportunity to do research and find out how I could not have to work for the rest of my life. Not doesn't matter if I was a remote job, doesn't matter if I was going to the office every day. I did not want to work for the rest of my life, and I knew this at 20. So, all right, cool. How can I do this? And I started doing real research. I found real estate. I found stocks. I found businesses, money lending. But what worked for me was real estate. So between 18 and 30, I built the money I needed to be able to invest for the next season I was going to go into. The next season would be going from just working my job to going to working to going to investing in my business as well. I knew I needed to, so I spent from 20, because that's what I knew. I spent from 20 years old to 30 figuring out and stacking money, paying off all my credit card debt, doing settlements and all that stuff. And I knew 7 years it would take and all that stuff. And by 30, I was ready. At 32, I started the journey my next season. At 32, let me get into my real estate business. I bought my first house at 32. I understood that from 18 to 30 was one season for me. And along in that season, I still traveled. I still did all this stuff, but that wasn't the focal point. The focal point was what do I need to do in this season so that when I make the next transition to the next season, it will be successful. And I did it. So and when I was 30, I started to transfer into the next season for me, which was the real estate investing. Now, I knew one thing about real estate investing after I bought my first house. I did not want to work for the rest of my life. Now, real estate investing, while most people will say it's passive, it can be passive somewhat, but if you're managing your own real estate, and if you're doing this stuff, it can be a little bit less passive. But I didn't want to pay somebody the amount of money it took to manage the real estate, which I could do myself. So I decided I'm not going to get that many properties. I'll get maybe 2 or 3 properties that I can manage, so I can give one to each of my kids, and I can have one that I can use for my retirement or whatever. And I said, okay, at 32, when I got my first house, I started this season. I mean, I started the season at 30, but it started at 30, but I really got into it at 32. So at 33, I brought another crib. At 33, I brought another crib. At 36, I brought another crib. Actually, 36, 35? I think it might have been 35 when I got the crib in Miami. At 35, I brought another crib. No, 36. No, it's 36. At 36, I brought another crib. And I said, hey, these are the three cribs I said I would get, maybe 4 maximum. These are 2 or 3 cribs I said I would get. I'm good. But unfortunately, I knew with an HOA it would be a lot harder to retire. So I had to get out of there. But I made a profit. Once I made that profit, I said, you know what? All I have to do is get my place in Columbia, and I'm gonna be set. That's the most goodest route of efficiency. But then I also thought opportunity cost. I said, you know what? Let me add something to that. And I started looking around, and I seen Atlanta, and I started seeing how the price and stuff. I said, you know what? Let me add Atlanta to that, because the price of what Atlanta is not going to be a big difference from what I have now. And if I do make money out of it, Airbnb, or if I do make money out of it, renting it full time, that's just a bonus. But I will also be able to build the equity while I'm not able to, while I don't plan to, not able to, while I don't plan to retire until my son is out of school. Because I know what season I'm in. I'm in the season to focus on my retirement. And at this part of the season, am I driving to the welfare office? No, I don't work there. Shout out to Beach Phoenix in the building. Another creator I met. Good morning. I met at the YouTube event in New York City. Thumbs up. Done. You have a good day too. Again, y'all, it's all about knowing what season you're in, because a lot of people, I think they're still in that season where they want to, and don't get me wrong, I party, I turn up. Y'all know I do when I go international. But a lot of people aren't planning for the next season. I feel this, in my opinion. I don't know other people's things. It doesn't appear when I watch YouTube, and I see a lot of people talking about, the travel space is dead, or this is dead. And I've had many talks about don't be one-dimensional. Throughout my whole career on my channel, I've had many talks about don't be one-dimensional. But I felt as though this was important to talk about seasons, because now a lot of people who chose to be one-dimensional are going to start feeling a pullback on how much money they're making on YouTube, or how much time they're getting with their family, because they got to work more, because they didn't plan for a family in advance. They didn't plan for their season of family. They didn't plan for their season, forget retirement, they didn't plan for their season of family. So now their kids need stuff, and they can't provide it unless they work more, and they work more, now they can't spend as much time with their kids as they can, because they didn't plan for that season. They said, this is something that's going to come, but they didn't plan for that season. I said, it don't matter if we're friends, it don't matter if we don't get along. I'm going to be one that raises my son, because I grew up without a father, and I know what I need to do, and I'm prepared for being able to do that. That's why my son lives with me. And a lot of things. The only reason why I was able to bring my son to live with me, also in one of the give him the opportunity to go to the schools in one of the best sections of the state in West Orange. But even on top of that, give him a opportunity to go to private school. I prepared for that season because I know I wanted kids. I know I wanted this thing. I don't think a lot of people prepare for the next season. And there's nothing wrong with it until there's something wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with not preparing for the next season until the next season comes and now you're stuck. I see a lot of people talking about, is the travel space, where is it going? Where is it dead? It stops you from forward thinking. And if you stop thinking forward, then you start going back. Remember that quote. If you're not thinking forward, then you're going to go back. You're going to end up going back because things change all the time. Things change all the time, and you don't have control on how things change. You only have control on how you react to things or how you prepare for things. So I'd say ask yourself right now, y'all. It's your Jeep Talk episode 63. Do you know what season you're in? If you ask yourself now, what season of life are you in? Ask yourself, what season of life are you in? Are you in the building season? Are you in the family season? Are you in the love season? Are you in the grinding for your goal season? Are you in the retirement season? Are you preparing for retirement? Because if you don't know what season you're in, got 7 years until retirement, and then my next season will begin. My fault, y'all. Travel POV is doing it a different way, but he knows his seasons. He knows what season he's in. Like, not everybody's going to do it where they want to have kids overseas after they retire, but that's a plan. And knowing that, having a plan means you're able to build the seasons the way you wanted the seasons to be, or you're able to do it the way you wanted to do it. A lot of people don't really have a plan either, and that can be very difficult when it comes to knowing what season you're in. Because if you know what season you're in, but you don't have a plan, then you plan to fail. It don't matter if you know what season. Okay, I know I'm in the season where I gotta hustle and make money so that I can retire next season, but I have no plan on how I'm going to go get that money. I have no plan how I'm going to make that money consistent so I can take it over to the next season. I have no plan on how I'm going to invest. I have no plan on how I'm going to spend my time so that I can be prosperous in the next season. But again, everyone's season is not the same. And a lot of people, I said it earlier, they compare people in different seasons. For example, of course, I'm not going to say any names because I don't do that. There are some creators, and I'm in different communities, but the travel community is one of the communities I've been in longer than anybody else. There are a lot of people in the travel community right now that they've traveled a lot of places, right? And they've gone to the places over and over again, and they want to change up where they stand. They want to change up their stuff, but changing up your stuff isn't just going to a country you haven't been before. It isn't just going to or doing something different in the countries you've been either. What it is it's changing, moving to the next season, or I don't want to say growth, but moving to the next season is going and doing something that isn't something that people can expect of you. For example, but still making it inclusive of what you do. For example, I've been traveling and I've been on YouTube and I've been doing all different stuff to show my life, because everything's about my life, since 2009. I've just hit my 16th year anniversary on YouTube. 16 years on anniversary. I don't reinvent myself. The reason why I don't reinvent myself is because then you have to feel as though there's something wrong with who you were if you feel as though you got to reinvent yourself. There's something wrong, in my opinion, just opinion. I feel as though anyone that wants to reinvent themselves feels like there's something that you was doing wrong, that you feel as though you got to try to do again and do it right. That's my opinion. What I've been doing is I've been improving how I tell my story. Not reinventing. I've been improving how I tell my story. For example, I started using AI. And I started creating, but a long time ago, I told people I wanted to pay somebody, and I was willing to pay somebody to make my life stories into a cartoon based on what I wrote. But I never was able to find somebody. I tried Fiverr, I tried these other ones, but everyone just said that they canceled it, they didn't do it. But through AI, I was able to transmogrify my story into a cartoon that can grasp more people's attention and put it in a way where it's even more entertaining. So I started using AI on my page. with the Adventures of Honey Pack Jack. That's not me reinventing myself. That's not growth. What some people would say growth. What that is that is adding different layers to the strategy you started, because you understand that with time things change, and if you don't want to be left behind, you need to adapt, or at least attempt to adapt to the new society or the new thing that's coming without reinventing yourself or changing who you are at the core. And I feel as though there's a lot of people who don't understand that. It's not about reinventing yourself. It's not about coming out and new places doing the same thing that you did before. It's about reaching another level that you may have been scared to go to before, that you don't know how. I don't know nothing about AI. I'm learning as I go. There's going to be mistakes I make. There's going to be times I get it right. There's going to be times I get it wrong. But evolving is a better term. Reinventing is different, because reinventing is changing up what you had to a new way. Evolving is adding on to what you have. It's not, again, growth. I don't use the word growth because growth can mean a bunch of different things. But evolving means changing into a different thing, but having your core who you are. For example, when a butterfly is a caterpillar, and the caterpillar is going through the cycles. It's not growing. It's not reinventing itself. It's evolving into what it was from the start. And that's what I feel as though is going on in the travel and other niches too, but in the travel space, a lot of people are not evolving into they're reinventing themselves, and they're not evolving. For example, like, I feel as though when I do lives like this, it's because I have something to say. It's because I'm trying to get a point across, but because it's still based on my life story, and that's what my channel is. So it's not me reinventing myself. But if I am a traveler and I'm always traveling, and that's what people know me for, and I've done nothing else but traveling, but then I start doing nothing but live videos, and I'm not traveling anymore. I'm just doing live videos, and I'm having conversations, and then I'm getting to clickbait topics, or I'm getting into feeding people's need for the dopamine of argumentation and stuff. That is not evolving in my book. That is reinventing yourself, because it's not. Now, if you're live and you're going out and you're traveling and you're showing people the area, you're introducing, you're inclusive with the culture, I consider that's still traveling. But when I go home, like the times when I'm sitting and I'm in my room and I'm doing lives on like the last live I did about not being a full-time YouTuber, when I'm in my office, because it's me telling my life story, that fits. But if I have a travel channel, that does not fit. It does not fit. That's reinventing yourself, and there's nothing wrong with reinventing yourself. I'm just saying, to me, reinventing yourself doesn't move you to the next season. It doesn't prepare you for the next season. It takes you back to try to change something you did in the last season to go to a level where you think you want to go. Yo, Tay, shout out to brother Tay International in the building. Yo, Tay International be really, I got to figure out why Tay ain't at like 200,000 already or 100,000 already, because Tay International, he really be traveling. He really be like talking to the people. He really be out there, man. Good brother I met before, man. Let me see. Change lanes every season to add to the platform. But even if you change lanes, you're still going the same way. Here's the thing. My fault. DC Pro. Even if you change lanes, you're going to the same way. But when you go from a person who's traveling, showing the world, to all I'm doing now is sitting down, having live conversations, and the conversations, even though sometimes they're about travel, most of the time it's about argumentation or dopamine to get people's attention, to strike people's emotion. That's not growth. I don't think that's growth. I don't think that's evolving. I think that's reinventing itself. By definition, it doesn't fit. Now I think. By definition, that doesn't fit as growth or evolving. That fits in reinventing yourself. There's nothing wrong with reinventing yourself, but it's not the same thing. It's never going to be the same thing. And again, I always tell people there's nothing wrong with it. If that's who you feel like you got to be to get to where you want to go, then that's cool. But you can't. I mean, but it. What's the word I'm looking for? Now you can. It is not. It seems a bit. It's not hypocritical. Hypocritical is not the word. I'm trying to figure out the word. When was at the job? So give me a second. It is not the same thing. It is not. Yeah, it's just not. When I get the word out, I'll come back to y'all. Taylor National says the rate of adaptation is increasing faster and faster. Yeah, people, and again, when maybe we'll go more into detail with that, Tay. But I'm going to try to interpret it how I interpret it, but I might interpret it wrong. So if you want to go more detail into that, I'm just that's the exact thing. Again, I'll read the next one. Tay said too. Thanks. I'm not doing it worried about the subs. I'm doing it for most of my joy. 1,000%. That is. I don't want to say the most honorable because that's what I do. I could be making tons of money. A lot of my videos don't get monetized. Sometimes I promote videos and I gotta pay for it. But a lot of my videos don't get monetized. But I want to get the message out because I'm doing it for my purpose. I say my purpose. My purpose is to tell my story in hopes that it inspires others to find a life that works for them. Because we wasn't given that option when I was growing up. But I do also feel as though to reach more people, a lot of times you have to invest in evolving into someone who can grab the attention of everyone without losing who you are. That's what I'm saying. You have to evolve into someone who can grasp many people without losing the core of who you are. But I feel as though at least in the travel space that in the part of the travel space that I've seen of recent, I've seen all different parts of travel space. But just in certain parts of the travel space I've seen recent, a lot of people aren't keeping the core of who they at least started to be, or or the image they gave off when they first started. If you watch my videos from 2009, I'm the same person doing the same exact thing, telling my story with the same exact purpose. There's not many people who've been here longer than 2 years that don't automatically switch over to I want to do what's going to make me more money, what's going to get me more popular. And there's nothing wrong with it, because I dislike when people say, oh, they shouldn't be like that, that's lame. No, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of people don't see that they're no longer at the core, they're no longer doing what they did before. And they still push to say, oh, I'm different from this person because all this person does is talk junk, and all this person does is oh fuck, I put the fucking battery in. Hold on a second, y'all, give me a second. And I'm different from this person because this person takes money and this person just starts drama. Yeah, but if on your channel you do the same thing often, what's the difference? It's just that person is willing to go further than you are, and when it comes to having that. So again, I just look at the space. Look here, we did a Jeep Talk the other day. This is Jeep Talk 63. Knowing the season you're in, we did a Jeep Talk the other day about separation. Again, there's nothing wrong with what other people do. I'll never knock them for it. But I had to separate myself, and I've done it plenty of times before. And people used to ask, "Yo, Flyboy, why don't you go on anybody else's live? Why don't you do all this stuff?" Because a lot of times, and I used to go people live a lot. A lot of times, you got to understand separation is needed, because a lot of people can't see that they don't know what season they're in, and they're just in the season of trying to get popularity. If that's even the season, just the season of trying to get popularity by whatever means necessary. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But a goat and a lamb Yeah, not the same. Not the same. Um, so again, it's like it's just time. I like having these conversations with y'all. You guys got any questions about anything? Y'all can ask me. We almost at relax. It just changed. We almost at the job now. I got 10 maybe 15 minutes to talk. But yeah, y'all, you got to know what season you're in, because if you don't know what your season you're in, how can you plan to evolve? How can you plan to grow? And if you're not planning to grow or evolve, and you just want to stay the same, there's nothing wrong with it. But I don't know, man. It's a different world we live in, y'all. It's a different world we live in, man. I can't fathom doing the exact same thing for the rest of my life. Like, there's just no way. I do travel, yes, that's a big part of what I do. I also show my lifestyle with my kids. I also show people how I financially made it to where I got. I also show people my family and the time I spend with my family, and I also show people the drone footage, different from a different angle, seeing the world from a different angle. And the reason this all works for me is because each time has a season. Right now, again, I'm in the season of switching over from grinding and promoting and doing everything, like getting less sleep, working more, spending money, I'm still gonna take trips or something. That's just gonna happen. That can be into end life. And I'm into that season now where I'm focused on my retirement, and I got to do a lot next year as far as purchasing this property in Atlanta. My credit is already there. I'm over 800, and that's not just on credit, not just on Credit Karma. I'm on 800 over on the bureaus. I also am building money, and I have to do some stuff on when I do my taxes this year. I should be able to get the rest of the money I need to get Atlanta and Columbia. I will get Columbia first. I will get Atlanta first, because if I don't get Atlanta first, it's going to stop me from getting Columbia because of the money. But once I get the money for both, that's when I'll start it. I could do Atlanta right now, but I won't, because it will stop me from getting Columbia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till I do my taxes, because this is all planning retirement. I'm going to wait till I do my taxes, and my tax base runs up, and I can actually get more money to be able to get Atlanta and Columbia. And then I'm going to get Atlanta, because in the United States, it's the only country that has a 30-year mortgage with a fixed rate. And right now, even though the fixed rate is high, who knows if the fixed rate for the mortgage in the United States is going to still be the same for the rest of life. Who knows if we'll always be able to have a fixed rate mortgage in the United States? You don't know. And because no other country has that, it's either one or two things are going to happen in my mind. And in my mind, one or two things are going to happen. One, the United States is going to stop having a fixed rate mortgage, and we're going to become like Canada, where there is a 30-year mortgage, but every 5 years it readjusts. We're either going to become like Canada, where we do that, or they're going to raise the interest rate for the 3-year mortgage. For the 30-year mortgage so high that, and the credit qualifications are going to get so tight on lending that a lot of people are not going to be able to get the 30-year mortgage. And that might happen in the next 5 or 10 years. So what I want to do is I want to position myself so that I can use what we're able to have now. Yes, 6%, 6.2 or 6.3% is high right now in comparison to what we knew. Like, I got a 2.8 and I got a 3.5 mortgage already. Yes, 6 is high, but it's still possible. In other countries, you got to pay all cash. But this comes with me knowing what season I'm in and being able to plan out so that the next season, when I'm in retirement, remember, this season is getting ready for retirement. When I'm in retirement, I don't want to have to say, oh, I did a misstep when I was planning for retirement, and have to backtrack and go and do stuff all over again. So this is why we're having this conversation. I'm having a conversation with my future self, just because I think the next step has to, I think the best next step for me would be, like I said, to make sure I have the funds so I can get Columbia and Atlanta, but get Atlanta first and then get Columbia. because for those that don't know, when you go to get a mortgage, if I get Columbia first, it's going to show that I have $80,000, or let's say anywhere from $65,000 to $80,000 in debt off of my HELOC, because I paid for the place in Columbia. Because in Columbia you got to pay for the place completely full. But and then that makes Atlanta harder, or it makes Atlanta worse because I have to get a higher interest rate. Versus when I have the full money, let's say the 150,000 available to go get Atlanta, I have to put $35,000 down. And then I have to show that I have 6 months worth of reserves, which will be easy to show if I don't get a place in Columbia right away. And then I'll qualify for a better rate at a lower rate. And I qualify for more money for the Atlanta place. I get the Atlanta place, and then I'll keep that for a couple months, make sure that's up and running right, and then I can spend the rest of the money and get the place in Columbia. And then getting the place in Columbia won't be affected, because then I have spent the whole 150, and then what I'll do is because my credit will be good still, I'll refinance that 150K that I've used for Columbia and for Atlanta into a smaller, into a least expensive full loan versus a HELOC. Versus a line of credit, I'll turn it into an actual loan, and when I do that, it'll lower the interest rate, because my HELOC is at prime. So right now prime is like 7%. So it's at 7%. But once I use all the money that I need to use, I could do that into a loan. The loan will be at like 5 something percent, and then I just worry about paying it off slower. And that's just the plan of how I'm going to move forward as I plan for the next season. Tay International says growth is going to happen differently for everyone, but those who plan to grow normally have better results. Big facts. I also need to do my property. I also need to get my property somewhere in South America. Again, Tay, the reason why I was like on the borderline of the reason why I'm so planning to get it soon is because two things that could occur. I don't mean they don't have to occur, but it's two things that they could occur. During the course of me preparing for retirement, the US dollar can lose its value. Now, it's never going to go to zero. It's going to always be the reserve, I think, in my lifetime. The US, it can lose its value in relative to Colombia. And if that happens, then it costs me more US dollars to get that property in Colombia. That's one thing. The second thing is, they can, in Colombia, because of the amount of people that's not going to be able to get placed in the United States and going over to Colombia, kind of like Mexico did in some parts, kind of like some other countries did in some parts, they can make it so that it's a little bit more difficult for people, or a little bit more costly for people from international places to come buy property in their country. Because if you haven't watched I watch all international news sometimes also. I watch the Mexico things, and they had like protests and stuff about tourists coming in, buying up all the places and making things expensive. In Medellin, for some reason, there's people complaining about the rent being high because tourists are coming in and renting stuff and buying stuff up. But in honesty, I, in the back of my mind, think that's just an excuse in these places, because the people who own the places the most are usually the locals, and they're the ones raising the rent. You can't control what rent you got to pay when you go somewhere if you want to be somewhere. Or you can't control how much a house sells for when you go somewhere. So if I want to buy a private property in Medellin, he might charge the local 60, but he sees me, he wants to charge me 80. If I say that I only want to pay 60, he's going to just give it to the local. So it doesn't fall on the foreigner, but a lot of countries, I think, are going to start switching over to, these Americans are coming with American dollars, buying everything up and making it hard. They're gentrifying our country. We got to make a change. We got to do something. And the government's going to say, well, we need the money. What can we do? Okay, we'll start a fund to help the locals get a place of their own, so you have a chance like Americans. And then what we'll do is, to get the money for that fund, we'll take it from the Americans who are buying property in our country. I see that being the future. So that's one of the reasons why I'm really leaning towards in the next 5 years, not only having my place in Atlanta, but also having my place in Columbia. I say the next 5 years, but it could be 2 years. If I get the funding like I need, like I should get in the beginning of next year, it could be 2 years. It could be 2 years when I have both properties. Because again, when you sit around and you wait, maybe the prices go lower. It's really unlikely. It's really unlikely. It's really I sat and looked at Atlanta, and I'm looking at Atlanta in 2012, and the properties that are now 160, $200,000 were literally only $85,000 in 2012. And when I go and I look at the properties in Columbia on Finca-Riz, and I know it's outdated. I know Finca-Riz is outdated, but it's still a property thing. It's no MLS in Columbia, but it's the closest thing to an MLS. When I go and look at the properties on Finca-Riz, the properties I looked at last year, when you translate, or when you change the USD to Colombian pesos, the properties cost more than what it would have cost if I bought it last year or the year before or the year before. That $60,000 property that I thought I could get 3 years ago in Barranquilla is now $67,000 when you do the translation of currency. So could it overly get past? Yeah. So I just want to fall in that time where I do have the right amount of money to do it. Tay National. Oh, my fault. Yeah, it's definitely lost the value against the COP this year. Yeah. So again, and no one knows. We're gonna get ready to go in like 4 minutes, 5 minutes. No one really knows what the future holds. But the biggest thing I've learned from being able to get financially where I'm at through real estate is the biggest thing I learned is that there are a lot of people who are going to say right now is not a good time to buy. But them same people, 5 years, 3 years, 2020 was 5 years ago, right? 2020, people were saying it's a horrible time to buy. I bought my condo in Miami. They said this is a horrible time to buy. I'm going to wait till the price get lower. And then the price didn't get lower. Got a little bit higher. They said, well, the prices are going to fall. And they waited 5 years. And now those same properties, the property I own, I made $50,000 off of. 40, but 50. Those properties not even possible anymore for them. I don't want that to happen to Columbia, man. I don't want that to happen to me in Columbia. So again, I'm not in a rush. But when I do get the financing I need to get, I'm already halfway there. I need. I'm going to tell. I'm already. I got financing for like 40. I need 100 and I really only need 130. I really only need 130 to do what I want to do. But if I get 150, that's good enough. But as soon as I get the 150, I'm already in the process of now working with my realtor, because luckily my realtor is going down to Atlanta. He's actually going to start doing Atlanta. Shout out to brother Hughes, James Hughes. He's a realtor from New Jersey. He's about to go down to Atlanta. He has some people down there he's going to work with. He's going to do some things. So I'm already working with my realtor to plan some times to go back down to Atlanta again, because I just came from Atlanta last month. And this time I'm going to go look at some houses. Again, I've did the research. I've watched videos. I've seen what area. I know the 1 or 2 areas I want to buy in. I understand that if I get a place in the city of Atlanta, I'm going to have to change my address. I'm going to have to do all this stuff if I want to Airbnb it, because I don't plan on renting my place full time. I don't plan on renting the place full time, but I do plan on Airbnb it when I'm not there, because I do plan on getting it up there, getting it fixed up. Because again, I have the Frontier Pass. For me to go to ATL and back is $32. On my Frontier Go Wild Pass, for me to go to ATL and back is $16 each way. Take International, yes, but I'm sure you had a lot less money available in 2012. Big facts. So that 18.5 might have been it was expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as now. Like I was watching I've been watching videos for a long time with the Atlanta thing. What happens is that, let's say back in 2012, the median income was like $40,000, right, a year, $45,000 a year, and the median price was like $85,000. So that's only like a difference of like $40,000, right? Currently in Atlanta, the average income, the average family income is like 92,000, right? The median price is like 400,000, 430,000. So that's what I'm saying. Like it didn't look like it was easier back then, but that was only a $40,000 difference. Now you talking about $300,000, almost $400,000 difference, a little bit less, almost $350,000 difference between the median income and the median house price. I think that's just something that's going to keep going. I cannot see a, and I don't like saying can't, but I cannot see a world where the median income and the median house cost shrink, because what that would require would be people with the low interest rates to sell their house for less than they can get another house for. That would also require, or that would require the jobs who don't really want to pay people to pay people far more than what they can get off of just them employees, let alone way more than what they could get if they switched them out for AI. I don't ever see and the only other way, aside from people who having houses like me, I have a 2.8. I don't see why I would sell my house for $200,000 less. I have a 2.8 in one of my houses. I can't fathom any reason why I would want to sell my house for $200,000 less, and I gotta get a higher interest rate on my mortgage. I can't see it. So the only other way is the government has to find a way to, and even that might not work, because even if the government gives people a lot more money to increase how much money they make on their income and how much money they can afford on a house, that top number of how much the house is cost right now is going to skyrocket. It's a catch-22. There's no way out except for it to continue. Now, how fast it continues to spread, how fast it continues, the median raise and the house price continues to spread from each other, that can be controlled somewhat. But the fact that they're going up, it's never going. People can't see that that's never going to happen again. It's not going to be any smaller, because remember, either I with a 2.5 or 2.8 income rate have to sell my house for $200 less than I can sell it for than it's worth, and then I gotta buy a house for more than that interest rate, or the jobs gotta say, you know what, we don't want to pay you $30 an hour, we want to pay you $60 an hour. And that's even when we know we can go get AI to work for $15 an hour, or $10 an hour we can pay for AI. It's just not logical, y'all. Again, that's why it's so important to know what season you're in, y'all. As we come to the end of this Jeep talk, that's why it's so important to know what season you're in, because not knowing what season you're in can miss you a lot of opportunities and can put you in a predicament where you're no longer able to get to that place where you once was. Me, nothing wrong with it. Don't want to be 40-year-old YouTuber trying to be a full-time YouTuber. I don't want to be 35, not having a career that I've been at for a while that I could build off income. Because you got to look at 60. You got to look at, so many people miss 60. 50, I won't even say 50 because most people don't retire early. I'm retiring early. I know it's a rare thing. Look at 60. You still want to be doing what you do now at 60. Or struggling harder at 60. Especially knowing that AI is coming. Oh, it's my fault. AI is already here. Knowing that AI is going to be doing what it's doing. Shoot. When I look at Yo, I appreciate you guys for watching me. You get ready to get out here, y'all. This has been Jeep Talk. Episode 63. Do you know what season you're in? And it's your boy FRE, $H Fresh at the Flyboy Way. That's THEFLYBOYWAY. Don't ask why, just check out the channel. And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.